Okay, I'm delighted that our 2014 Sportswoman of the Year, our very first Swiss Sportswoman of the Year, Eilidh Doyle has joined us for this particular recording. And Eilidh, 2014, if you can think that far back, was some year for you, wasn't it?
It was incredible. I mean, it doesn't actually feel that long ago to me, it's still very, very fresh in my head. But yeah, just an amazing year, just for me personally, for sport in Scotland, it was just such a great year. And yeah, to kind of top it off by getting the Women in Sport award was fantastic.
How important do you think it is to have a specific Women in Sport awards event?
I think it's really important because I think there's so many amazing women in Scotland that are doing great things within sport, not just in terms of athletes themselves, but coaches and officials. And I think it's just really important to try and celebrate that. I think, we can sometimes get a bit lost with just, it's very, Scotland's a very football dominated sport, especially male football. And I think it's really important that we can just kind of come back from that, celebrate women in sport, and give them their own kind of platform to be able to do that, because like I say, there is so many amazing women out there doing so many amazing things. So to have a night to celebrate that, it's just fantastic and really, really worthwhile.
If you were to think back to that year, to 2014, when you won the award, what was your highlight in terms of performance?
Yeah, I mean, I often get asked this, and I think if I could cheat and have two, because I think for me, the Commonwealth Games was just fantastic. The whole build up to it was so nerve wracking, and it was this big, step by step every month, before it, and every day before, people are asking you, how are you feeling? You must be really nervous, and it was this big kind of emotional time. But I think for me, the highlight of the Commonwealth Games was crossing that line. It was all over. I've been able to do a lap of honour in Hampden Park, and in front of a Scotland crowd like that, and I think that for me was the whole of the Glasgow 2014 Games. Running that lap of honour was my massive highlight. But in terms of actually performing on the track, I think my highlight came 2 weeks after that, when I became European champion and won the Europeans. Because for all that Glasgow was incredible and it was amazing, in terms of the atmosphere and just the support from the Scottish people, to be able to then kind of actually win and go on top of the podium at the Europeans was just even special as well. So I think the lap of honour and I think winning the Europeans would go hand in hand as being my highlights of that year.
So 6 years have gone by nearly since that time. Quite a lot has happened in your life since then, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, loads of it. I mean, I think probably the biggest thing that's happened to me more recently is the fact that I've had a baby. So I was away from the track. But even then, I was talking to my husband about it earlier. I started thinking back to 2014, and we were kind of talking about the things that had happened since then. And I've gone on to win more medals. I got to captain the Great Britain team at the London World Championships. And that was the first time anybody been voted for to be captain. I got to go to another Commonwealth Games and carry the flag, the first female flag bearer, won my first individual 400 metre medal at the World Indoors, and then had Campbell earlier this year. So there's been so much that's happened, and I think a lot of, in terms of the track stuff, I think a lot of what I've achieved since 2014, there was a lot of it that came down to that, because that was a big year for me. It was that kind of step up, to kind of delivering on the big stage. And I think coming away from that year, knowing that I could do it when there's a lot of pressure, do it at home Commonwealth Games, then go and do it at the European Championships, I think it's really kind of built me as an athlete. And then, I think that's why I went on to win medals after that.
So much has happened. Obviously, it's been spread out over 6 years, right? But it seems like an awful lot has happened. In a way, this is almost like a reset year for you with the wee one as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, we wanted to, the plan was to try and get back and try and compete this year. It was always going to be tight, because that's Campbell's only 5 months now, and I would have been competing last weekend at the British Championships and Olympic trials. So we didn't really know how this year would pan out, because it was going to be a case of how I recovered after giving birth, how I felt mentally, if I wanted to come back and compete, where my motivation was. But obviously with the coronavirus and everything that's happened, that's all kind of been, you know, thrown out the window. So yeah, it's kind of a down year. I feel like it's good for me because it's allowing me that extra time to recover, not push as hard as I would have had to have been if I really wanted to make the Olympics. So it's given me a little bit of time to recover, a little bit of time to enjoy just being a mum, you know, rather than being an athlete. So yeah, it's not what we expected, but it's been fine. It's been manageable.
So the Olympics is still in the plan.
Yeah, definitely. I think it would just be nice to try and make another Olympics. I think, you know, I've been lucky enough to have been to 2 so far, in London and Rio. And I think just to be able as well, I think to kind of show Campbell, show my son that, you know, after having him, it didn't actually mean that I didn't have to be an athlete anymore. I could still be a mum and an athlete. And so, yeah, it would still be a target to try and get back and compete. I mean, I still love competing. I still love training. Last year, I kind of got that feeling that maybe I'd like to start a family, so maybe the athletics would take a little bit of a, you know, a back seat. But ultimately, I wanted to be a mum and I still wanted to be an athlete. So I'm hoping now that I've got a little bit more time, I can still do both.
But the Trailblazers are out there. We see top women athletes with children and babies, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the World Championships in Doha last year, and I was, you know, quite heavily pregnant then, and I was watching Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, you know, win, and then have her son there, you know, and I think it was really inspiring championships, and it almost felt kind of like fate sitting there watching it, and you know, if there was any doubts in my mind that, you know, could I come back, could I do it, I was watching all these amazing women do it, you know, in front of me, and it was kind of giving me that inspiration to say, well, yes, of course, you know, it doesn't necessarily, just because you're having a baby doesn't necessarily mean that's you now, you have to, you know, stop or retire. I think it's there's so many women out there that have shown that that's not the case at all.
So how have you been working? You're obviously still doing a bit of training, even though you don't have a, you know, a short-term target as such. How's the training all fitting in? How much are you doing?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to do something every day during the week. I'm trying to do something, and I'm lucky enough because my coach is also my husband, so, you know, I'm in lockdown with my coach effectively.
He's very useful, really, isn't he?
And he's also my soft tissue therapist as well, so when a lot of people have struggled to get treatment, I'm one of the lucky ones that can still get, you know, treatment now and again. So it's just been a case of just trying to get back what our target is now. I mean, the target originally was to try and get back and obviously compete and be ready to compete at this stage, but now it's just about trying to stay healthy, make sure there's no kind of after effects from having the baby, there's no kind of niggles or injuries there, and then kind of get myself in shape to be ready to start a good solid winter training come September to get ready for next season. So yeah, it's kind of just it's almost kind of like treating it like a bit like rehab if I come back after an injury, just kind of doing all the sort of little exercise that you probably wouldn't normally have time to do if you're focusing on a season, but all those kind of rehab things and, you know, all the sort of strengthening things to make sure that the body is physically ready, which means that, you know, when it comes September, when I would normally start winter training, I'm ready to go, and there's going to be hopefully no after effects from having the baby, and no niggles and injuries here and there.
On a more general level, how do you think the world of athletics is coping or has coped with the pandemic?
Yeah, it's just really strange. I mean, I suppose we're probably again one the luckier ones because, you know, I've been able to train from my house pretty much. So I've been able to go out for runs. I've been able to do circuits. You know, it's not like swimming, you know, where you can't get access to a pool. You know, a lot of the stuff. Yes, we've not been able to get access to tracks, but you can replicate a lot of things on the road, on the grass, and it's not as difficult as other sports. So I think we've been relatively lucky. But the good thing about athletics is they're starting to kind of bring events back into things. So I watched an event, the Oslo Diamond League, which would normally be the Diamond League, but they kind of put on sort of, you know, spectator events, and it was, you know, a 200-meter hurdles, a 300-meter hurdles, time trial type events, which kind of showed that they could still put things on. So I think athletics are one of those sports that can adapt a bit easier than other sports can, and hopefully, you know, as we kind of gradually come out of lockdown and things start to reopen, we'll see more events that we can, you know, perhaps either take part in ourselves or that will still be able to go ahead. So I think we're one of the luckier sports, to be honest.
Are you worried in terms of the kids that are coming through that just doing sport generally, that's maybe not, you know, on the radar as much now? What are our youngsters going to be doing? What kind of sports are they going to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is probably the concern. I think it's really important as well that we kind of emphasise the importance of sport. I think, you know, a lot of people are looking at it from the elite's point of view, you know, the fact that we're just getting football back and we're able to watch it. But I think in terms of actually just being a young kid, it's just being able to go out and play with your friends and stuff. I think that's the hardest thing, you know, just to be able to go and get a ball and kick about with your friends in the park. Or, you know, one of my big things is that I want to be able to take Campbell to the swimming pool. You know, I really want him to be in the water, to be used to that, because I loved swimming when I was younger, and not being able to do that, you know, I don't want him to miss out in any way. So I think, yeah, it's going to be difficult, but I think if we can still make sure we're promoting the importance of sport at all levels, you know, not obviously just at the elite level that's returning, but I think at all levels, the importance of sport for physical and mental health. I think, you know, if we can just keep kind of, you know, making sure that message gets out there, then hopefully the kids that are coming through will understand that, and, you know, and I'll be dying to get back to playing sport and taking part in sport when they can.
So just before we go, I think, if you don't mind, we'd like a wee glimpse of Campbell.
Yeah.
All right. Is he there?
Yeah.
This budding athlete, swimmer, tennis player, whatever, with two very energetic and healthy parents.
Oh, the poor soul, if he's not into sport.
Very, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, so he's a big boy. He was only 6'11" when he was born, but he
look at that big grin. Sorry.
Yeah, like his mum. So he's grown quite a lot since then. So that's him, almost exactly 5 months.
5 months, and thriving and loving having his mum and dad around all the time, I'm sure.
Exactly.
That's a real bonus. So enjoy it. Eilidh, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Congratulations on being our 2014 winner. Who knows, maybe after Tokyo you might be the winner in 2021, depending on what happens. But
that would be brilliant.
none of us has a crystal ball, but good luck with everything going forward. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.